If somebody came up to you and said, just very simply, what happened with Trey Lance in San Francisco? What do you say? What happened?
Uh, I'd say that we've got a developmental raw project of a quarterback, and we misread the bandwidth, the support, and the overall time that it took to actually see that asset through to fruition. I feel like if we're just looking at it from a sober perspective, we kind of got caught playing God a little bit and trying to manufacture a Super Bowl and keep our team together instead of just in some instances just letting competition really bear that out. I feel like because we've had such a good roster, the common denominator with a lot of the mistakes or a lot of missteps that we've made with the quarterback position is because we're really trying to keep this core together. We're really keep trying to get this keep this team together. Where I kind of feel like in some instances we forgot how this team was built. And it's through development. It's through the draft. It's through building diamonds in the rough. It's through massaging players that were once high picks, but ingesting them into our coaching enclave. So I would say that we brought on a project that took a lot more time than we had to give it. And ultimately, there's two sides of this. There's the football side of it, and then there's the human side of it, where the politics of a young man and his career and his representation and the advocacy that he's naturally going to garner because of the assets that were spent on him, and he's actually, a good kid. It just didn't mix, right? And that's just football, part of being a winning organization and making sure that all of the contracts fit and making sure that the windows stay open. A lot of that is built on the human side, the culture, the fact that you want to be in the building, that everybody respects each other, that all information is on the same level playing field, that every competition is fair. And when those things get a little muddy and you have to make you have to make a moral decision to make sure that you keep the room on par. So I think that the Niners made a decision to make sure that they can look at themselves in the mirror the next day, and they did the right thing.
You think they did the right thing?
Yeah.
You mean just for Trey or for their franchise?
I think two things can be right at the same time.
Sure.
I wouldn't necessarily think that this solely was about doing right by Trey, but I think that this was about doing right by the fans, doing right by the culture, doing right by the organization, upholding the mantra of class and morality that we're supposed to be built on. The wins don't mean anything if you don't feel good about them, right? We're behind Brock because we believe in the type of player Brock is. We believe in the young man, right? It's awesome what he does for us on the field, right? But what galvanizes us around Brock is that Brock is truly a good kid. He's a great guy, right? And you want to like the people that you root for. You want to believe that your coaching staff and the culture that they've garnered is authentic. And elements of this story, elements of this journey with Trey Lance have challenged some of those sentiments. So I feel like removing Trey from the organization was good, not just for Trey, but on a lot of different fronts.
I personally don't. I'm a little skeptical whether they did the right thing for their franchise. I do think they did the right thing for Trey.
Right.
But, it is interesting. I mean, I would encourage anybody to go read the Bill Barnwell piece on ESPN.com. I mean, ESPN dumped a lot of good people, but one of the good people they really kept, was Bill Barnwell, and he's a phenomenal writer, and he just talks about what an amazing this has been for Lance. I mean, he's 19, coach. I mean, think about it. You've been around a lot of young people as coaches, as a coach. Um, 2019 at North Dakota State, he's 19. He's on top of the world. He's running for
Right.
1,100 yards, 28 touchdowns, no picks. They go 16-0. They win the FCS national title, and it's one of the most impressive redshirt freshman seasons in the history of college football. And even though it was done at the FCS level, and then look at just the whirlwind negativity that's happened for that kid since. And you almost don't realize it till Barnwell puts it down on paper, but you get the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, the world shuts down, and for Lance, what did that mean? That meant that his 2020 season was one game against Central Arkansas, and then he declares for the draft. He probably should have stayed in at North Dakota State and developed himself as a passer. Niners trade up to number 3. They give up a massive haul to do it, and then he hurts his index finger in the preseason. Didn't get consistent reps in practice in 2021. Started for Jimmy Garoppolo in 2022, but it was, that terrible weather day in Chicago, which I thought he had some good and some bad. Then he breaks his right ankle in the first quarter, week 2 against Seattle. I was barely even in my seat by the time he was out of that game.
Right.
And then the season plays out. Garoppolo comes back. Purdy emerges. And suddenly his career is over with the 49ers. And it's an unbelievable, I don't you call it fall from grace or drop or whatever. His 8 games, coach, fewest played by a top 5 pick for the franchise that they debuted with in the common draft era, going back to 1967, according to ESPN's stats and info. I mean,
Right.
that is a major turnaround. And I think they made this decision premature. I know lots of people right now, the perspective is, man, the 49ers regret the day and the trade up and all that. I think they may regret yesterday. I really do. Because I think this kid's going to get it. Now, I don't think it's going to be, I don't think he's taking Dak Prescott's job this year, but I think he's going to get it. I think that, and Lynch said it and Shanahan said it. I kind of think they may even believe it, that Trey Lance is going to get there, but his time here was done. And to me, the whole thing is really unfortunate. I think it's a combination of distraction and Cap and Purdy and message sending. And I think Dallas got an incredible young talent for a bargain price. And I think the 49ers sold low on a future franchise quarterback. To me, it is not a good morning for the 49ers today.
Okay, well, I'll see that, and I'll raise you the economic situation, right? Let's do it their way, right? They want to keep this window open. I mean, it's hilarious that they think that they can control that, but it's not like there's other 31 teams getting better and worse around them. But they think that they can keep this window open with the requisite players that they have as they get older and more expensive. Anyway, so they think they can keep it open, right? This move helps them because they got to get Nick signed and they eventually have to get Brandon Ayuk signed. And moving Trey off gives us considerable room on our cap next year. So this kind of, you got to look at this from a lot of different ways. I understand that what we're looking at is the potential of how this could be a problem for them. But we're not about to worry about imaginary narratives. You know what I'm saying? We have to worry about what we know, what we have in hand now. And what we have in hand now is a lot of room for us financially to keep our core together with moving Trey as well. So I understand your perspective of how raw and and the trajectory of where Trey's career is going as far as him. This is the most he's improved in his career. And we could possibly be looking at our rival getting possibly to a Super Bowl before us with our pick. I mean, that would be the most gutted shit of all time.